Shalom, Solel. Hello, Rick. Shabbat shalom to you.
Shabbat shalom.
And
Arlene,
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi and Rick and Beit Sefer Solel and all of Solel. It's wonderful to spend another Shabbat evening with you and to light our candles together as we bring the light of God's Spirit into our homes. So let's together light our Shabbat candles. Shtayim Shalosh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
It's always so beautiful to hear our rabbi's voice as we bring in Shabbat, and it's wonderful to welcome you, Rick, as our storyteller today, and to say we miss Ron, who could not be with us today. But and next week we won't have this service. We'll tell you about why a little later on. But could we start off with something special, Rabbi, some special song?
Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Because it's good to be together on Shabbat.
Absolutely. And there are so many events that are coming up. Tonight, there's a sad event, a remembrance of a very sad time in our history, the Shoah, the Holocaust. But then there'll be happier days, days that we remember the formation of the state of Israel and Israel's independence, where finally we have a homeland that we can live in, hopefully one day completely at peace. And there's so many things we can do together and be safe with and learn together. And speaking of learning, Rick, you have a story for us about learning today, don't you?
I absolutely do, yes. If the last year has taught us anything, the world can really throw us some pretty strange situations. And I also know that sometimes when kids are in school, they think, whether it's in Hebrew school or maybe they're studying math or something else, they're like, oh, when am I going to use this? And so this is a story about a young boy who isn't really excited about going to Hebrew school, but then the world sets him up with a very strange situation, and he's got to use some distinctly Jewish thinking to get out of it. So this is called The Substitute Teacher. Josh thought Hebrew school on Sunday was boring. He liked seeing his friends well enough, but he could never figure out when he was going to use this stuff, outside of going to synagogue. Still, his parents said he had to go, so he went. But one Sunday, things got a little weird. Josh got to class and took his seat, and he waited for his teacher, Ms. Black. Instead, in walked the principal, Mr. Legbeater. Boys and girls, I have an announcement, Principal Legbeater said excitedly. Your regular Hebrew teacher, Miss Marjorie Black, will be away for the rest of the year. So I would like to introduce you to your new teacher, Mrs. Blort. What no one seemed to notice, except for Josh and the other kids, was that Mrs. Blort was a giant squid. Not even Principal Legbeater seemed to notice, and after introducing her, he just left. Standing in front of the class, Mrs. Blort raised a giant tentacle and sang, I am your teacher, and everything's fine. For the rest of the class, you children are mine. And then she said, who can tell me all the letters of the alphabet? She pointed to a boy at the back of the class and said, "You." He began, Aleph, Bet, Daled? Mrs. Blort said, "No," and she promptly ate him up. Now, many of the other students were starting to get nervous, including Josh. They didn't think it was such a good idea to be eaten up by a giant squid in Hebrew school, even if that squid was their teacher. That night, Josh told his father that his new teacher was a child-eating giant squid. His father was busy shining his shoes, and without looking up from what he was doing, said, "Don't worry so much, Josh. Getting to know someone new takes time. Why don't you go get something to eat?" Well, all that next week, Josh studied his Hebrew letters. He studied them backwards and forwards. He studied them with his eyes closed and even while holding his breath. He did not want to get a question wrong the next time he was in Hebrew school. Sunday came, and Josh felt very nervous. When he got to the classroom, Mrs. Blort was sitting behind the teacher's desk, and she'd already eaten the blackboard, the curtains, and the pleasantly framed picture of Principal Leadbeater that had hung on the wall. Soon the other kids arrived, and then the bell rang, and Mrs. Blort sang, "I am your teacher, and everything's fine. For the rest of the class, you children are mine." And then she said, "Who can tell me the Hebrew word for dog?" The room was silent. Very soon, 7 desks, 5 shoes, 3 more children, and a brand new princess backpack had been eaten up. Josh had to do something. That night, he explained to his bubby that his new teacher was a child-eating giant squid. His bubby was cleaning the silverware, and without looking up from what she was doing, said, "Don't worry so much, Josh. Getting to know a new teacher takes time. Why don't you get something to eat?" Josh did not expect the next week to go much better, and it didn't. This time, Mrs. Blort had eaten most of the students' chairs, all of the chalk, and the classroom door by the time Josh got there. He was pretty sure that part of the ceiling was missing, too. "I am your teacher, and everything's fine. For the rest of the class, you children are mine." Just then, Josh shot his hand up in the air. "Mrs. Blort, may I please go down the hall to the washroom? I promise I'll be very quick." Mrs. Blort did not look pleased. Mrs. Blort looked hungry. "Very well," she sighed and waved Josh out the door with a jiggly tentacle. Instead of going to the washroom, though, Josh went to find the school rabbi. He raced down the hall, up the stairs, past the library, over a puddle from the leaky drinking fountain, and up to the door to the rabbi's office. "Rabbi," he said, "you have to help. Our new Hebrew teacher is a child-eating giant squid." The rabbi looked at Josh, sat back in his chair, and stroked his beard. Then he said, "Don't worry so much, Josh. Getting to know someone new takes time." But then he added, "But once you know enough, then you can figure out what to do. Now, why don't you go get something to eat?" Josh's eyes lit up, and he raced back to what was left of the classroom. When he got there, Mrs. Blort was holding 2 boys high in the air, ready to eat them. Josh yelled, "Stop!" Then he said, "Mrs. Blort, I just heard that they're going to be repairing this room, so we have to relocate to the school kitchen." Slowly, she put the boys down, and they all shuffled down the hall. When they got to the kitchen, Josh brought all the students inside, but when Mrs. Blort got there, he stood in her way. She stared at him with her big eye and then put 2 tentacles on her hips. "What's the meaning of this?" she grumbled. "Sorry, Mrs. Blort," Josh said. Then he pointed to a sign above the kitchen door. "This is a kosher kitchen. I don't know if you know this, but squid aren't kosher. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go get something to eat." And with that, Josh closed the door, and Mrs. Blort turned around, grumbled, and shuffled down the hall and out the doors of the school forever. And Josh, well, he sat down in the kitchen, opened a book from his backpack, and started studying his Aleph Bet.
A very cute
Great story.
Yeah. So I got to tell Beit Sefer Solel, I promise you that I will never hire a squid as a teacher. Although if it makes you learn the Aleph Bet, who knows? Who knows, right? That's a great story. Thank you so much for sharing it. That's wonderful. So as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be having all these wonderful times of celebration and times of remembrance. And the one on the 6th day or the 5th day of the month of Iyar next week is going to be Israel's birthday. And we are so proud of Israel being our state, a state that we love. It has some problems, absolutely, but we need a Jewish state. So do we have any songs that we can talk about for Israel or sing about, Rabbi?
Well, we have a great song for Israel, and I'm also really tempted to sing the Aleph Bet song too after Rick's story, because we need to remember that too. But let's do this one for Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. This is a melody that was written by our friend Rabbi Noam Katz. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, oh, Ravinu Chai, oh, Ravinu Chai, oh, Ravinu Chai, oh, Ravinu Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai.
And we want Israel to live and be strong and be a good state for all peoples, absolutely. So I had mentioned that next week we will not be meeting for our 7:30 service, because next Friday and next Saturday we're going to give our rabbi a well-deserved little bit of time off, and our Rabbi Emeritus is going to be doing services a little earlier than usual next Friday at 6:30. So that precludes our having this session for next week, but we will have it 2 weeks tonight. And of course, we encourage everybody, as we do all the time, to attend services and to look in the Shamas for all the links and all the way to get in. And as well, I think we've got a couple of special programs coming up, Rabbi. So could you tell them about what's happening for Yom HaShoah this Friday and Yom HaTzmaut on Sunday, please?
So tonight, just a little bit after this service, is our 8 p.m. service, and we have a special guest who's going to be with us from the Memorial Scrolls Trust, who's going to be talking about the Czech scroll that our congregation has and the history of the community, and also what history and memory and all of that is important for us as a community to remember Yom HaShoah. We have also upcoming this Sunday, if you want to join us for a special Yom HaAtzmaut concert across Canada, that's at 2 o'clock. There's information all about how to join that Zoom that went out in the Shamas, and it should be a really wonderful time to be together. And in addition, I'm trying to think of all the other things we have upcoming. I know that our students have the April break now, spring break, and we've got a program actually that's been sponsored by one of our friends from our Interfaith Peace Camp that's going on Wednesday. If you'd like to participate in that, we're going to be making kindness rocks. And Arlene, are there other things that you can think of that we need to?
I think, well, we have an upcoming bat mitzvah, Viva Van Tyne's bat mitzvah, but not until the 24th, but keep that open for everybody to attend. And we have a lunch and learn on the 20th, where Anat Hoffman is going to be talking about some of the changes in Israel, about the Reform Rabbinate being able to officiate at conversions. So again, I'd encourage all the adults who are watching to pay attention to the Shamas, and always, if you have a question, contact the office and all your questions will be answered. But we hope that we're giving you as many opportunities to learn and to study with us, and just to be together online whenever we can. So a bit of a school break because of the spring break and a definite lockdown in our province. But everybody, please remember, if you live in a high risk zone, right now ages 50 and up can book appointments, and starting at apparently next week in the high risk postal codes, 18 and up will be able to book. So pay attention to anything we send out, Rabbi, Carol, or I through the office, or things that you may get directly online, to the opportunities to get that much more safe by getting your first inoculation. So definitely. So I don't know, Rabbi, our last song, should we do the Aleph Bet song? Do you remember that? I've been trying to teach it to some adults, but
that one I remember. But do we have to wish people happy birthday? We do that every week.
Right, I forgot. Happy birthday. Has anybody had a birthday? I know my daughter has a birthday this week. My daughter Robin, her birthday is on the 11th. So, and let me see, my granddaughters and grandson, I've Rihanna and Talia and my grandson Liam. April's a busy month for me for birthday, so yeah, absolutely happy birthday.
All right, here we
And
go.
your son turned 21.
On Monday. It's past Monday, yeah. Yom Huledet Sameach.
Woo!
Yom Huledet Sameach.
Woo!
Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Happy birthday, everyone. It's good to have good things to celebrate. Another year, another trip around the sun. Well, I think we can close with the Aleph Bet song so that we all remember that in case we ever encounter a squid in the classroom, all these things that we need to know. While we're here in Hebrew school, we're going to have some fun and sing the Hebrew alphabet, a song for everyone. It's going to be quite simple, 'cause all you'll have to do is sing the letters after me, then I'll sing after you. Aleph, Bet, Bet.
Aleph, Bet, Bet.
Gimel, Dalet, Hey.
Gimel, Dalet, Hey.
Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet.
Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet.
Yud, Kaf, Chaf.
Yud, Kaf, Chaf.
Lamed, Mem, Nun.
Lamed, Mem, Nun.
Samech, Ayin, Pei, Fei.
Samach, Ayin, Pei, Fei.
Tzadik, Kuf, Resh.
Tzadik, Kuf, Resh.
Shin, Sin, Tav. Let's learn the alphabet, simple as it can be. You'll learn the alphabet if you sing the letters after me. Each letter has a name and a sound that it always makes. Now let's sing the special chorus. We'll have fun, it will not bore us. It's the Aleph Bet. Come on, Solel, sing with me. Aleph Bet Bet. Aleph Bet Bet. Gimel Dalet Hey. Gimel Dalet Hey. Vav Zayin Chet Tet. Vav Zayin Chet Tet. Yud Kaf Chaf. Yud Kaf Chaf. Lamed Mem Nun. Lamed Mem Nun. Samech Ayin Pei Fei. Samech Ayin Pei Fei. Tzadik Kuf Resh. Tzadik Kuf Resh. Shin Sin Tav. Shin Sin Tav. Each letter has a name and a sound that it always makes. Together they're the alphabet, the alphabet. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Practice your alphabet.
Absolutely, and no squids in our school, I hope. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, Rick. Thank you again for joining us tonight, Rick.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.